So it became really big news outside Iran in English outlets and outside that, because I think there's a misunderstanding of the concept of the morality police and what the law is implementing and how the Iranian government in general works. So every now and then they're going to, throw something really small to gauge the audience and see how much reaction they're going to get. And I think this was a classic case of that one official in one meeting said something, and their media outlets created the momentum around it, saying, oh, the morality police is going to go away. There is no evidence proving that. And even if the morality police goes away, there's still the law in the country that forbids women from not wearing the hijab. So in reality, it's hoax news, but it created the momentum outside Iran that people are thinking, oh, revolutionaries became successful. But from what I hear from people on the ground, everyone is saying, like inside Iran, the news didn't get that big because people understands that, and they were like, our demands had nothing to do with morality police. It's much bigger. It's about the government. The government is not legitimate and it needs to go.
Yes, and that is such a good point, because these protests that started after the death of Mahsa Amini have really just become about so much more than the morality police. It's about exactly where the society stands today.
Exactly. It's embodiment of that, the slogan they're using, women, life, freedom. And it's about liberty, the rights, for human rights, basic human rights and the rights of women, as well as, any other citizen in that country. And this is what they're asking for. And I had talked to a girl in a village in a conservative part of the country, yesterday morning, just after the news came out. And she was saying, the amount of bravery and the demands people have in different parts of the country is really amazing. And she was saying, yeah, from the day one, for us, it wasn't about just hijab. It's about how the government run this country. And we know that within this system, there's nothing that we can do, and our life is not safe.
So where does this leave the protest movement? Because the government hasn't shown any signs that it is willing to make any concessions, particularly in terms of the broad spectrum of life in Iran.
So the protests are ongoing. Today, as you mentioned prior, was the first day of the 3 days of a strike. And we got footages from more than 50 cities that are completely, the bazaars and the markets are shut down and people went on the strike. We have news from some factories that are joining the strikes. Up to date, this is the biggest strike that happened within this, the life of the Islamic Republic. So in the last 4 decades. But I think at the same time, it's important to understand the geopolitical role that Iran has, the Islamic Republic have. You mentioned the Syria story, that what's happening in Syria. And one of the things that the Islamic Republic government have been doing is sending its financial supports to Syrian government, to the Hezbollah in Lebanon. And it shows that they are losing those momentums. They don't have enough resources to send to those countries. So that gives people inside Iran more hope that if they continue, there would be, one point that the government might collapse.
Interesting. The UN rights body has launched a human rights investigation. I mean, it's interesting timing, but again, do you think it's going to have any impact on the Iranian government?
I think it's not about just the Iranian government. I think it would tame them in certain ways, not to kill people bluntly as they do, but I'm not sure how much and how effective this would be. But Iranians are really happy about this because for the first time, we are able to document the abuse of human rights. For 4 decades, they've been killing people inside prisons and outside, assassinating their oppositions. And it took ages for human rights advocates to document these sort of things. This is the first time that the international body is forcing people, forcing the Islamic Republic to give access to them, and then they can document this. And this created a lot of hope, especially, family members of people who got lost during this last 2-3 months, and it creates that kind of, there is justice in the horizon.
Yeah. It was interesting. We've seen so much public protest. We've seen it at the World Cup. We've seen it from actors, performers, artists. We saw it from that climber who competed in South Korea without a hijab. Now, that was some time ago, but we hear reports that her family home has been demolished. Now, it's not exactly clear when it was demolished, but it just shows this ongoing retribution if you publicly stare down the regime.
Yeah, exactly. Elnaz Rekabi's brave move and act of not wearing hijab and going to compete created a big momentum for the movement as well. And from what I understand, the family, demolishing the family house was around a month ago. So still around the same time that happened, and everything was hot. But it's interesting to see that even now, like the climber national teams members are either in prison or going into prison, and as well, like some of them are resigning in protest of the pressure that has been put on them up to date.
The solidarity is really becoming quite heartwarming, and I suppose provides some sort of hope, as you say, that if they persist, that there may be some outcome. Really great to chat again. Thanks, Negin.
Thank you.